Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Tuesday. Today, I'm doing a stream that like everyone and their mother has done, but I don't care. So I got two tabs here. We got the rank list with all the champions underneath, and then we also have the league legend lord page thing. Words. I swear I can use them. It's fine. So we're going to be doing it in alphabetical order, and let's go through what the rankings mean. So F is absolutely not. It's probably also illegal. Nothing in the world. Just nope, and also probably illegal. That's F tier. D is just like would never happen. There is probably not illegal. There's probably like nothing wrong with them. No. C is like if I had like a couple, maybe a little too many drinks. Maybe then. B is like I would need like a drink for confidence. A is nothing. 100%. Let's go. S is I would bark for them. No further explanation needed. Okay, so first we are going to start with Aatrox. Look at giant monster. So Aatrox is a Darkin, which is a corrupt ascended from Shurima. Gosh, I have to explain so many things. Uh, you know what? Y'all will just pick it up. It's fine. It's fine. So his role is a fighter. The region he's from is Runeterra. And basically he is a Darkin who got corrupted. And yeah, he basically wants to start the apocalypse. Doesn't seem like a great guy in my books. We're gonna put him there. And people don't realize just how much lore there is for each champion. So, like, there's, of course, like, the champion teaser, but then there's also, like, stories and art gallery. He only has one called The Cage. But then there's also, like, the art gallery, so Aatrox concept. Here's, like, more art exploration, how his wings might look. Next, we're gonna go. Oh my goodness, why did I do this? Go away. No, do I? Okay. I think Ari's next. Yes. Okay. Cool. So Ari is next. Ari is a fox girl, nine-tailed fox. So she is of Astaya, which is like high magic animal humans. And from what I remember of the lore, it's basically like high magic animals bedoinked with humans and created the Vastayan tribes. So there's quite a few of them. She is from Ionia. Actually, let's go. Ionia is super pretty. There's a lot of champions from there. And, okay, so she has to, like, eat essence in order to live. And at one point, just murdered people to do that. Now she doesn't do that. Now she's fine. She has a couple short stories. And look at her pretty art. She is a mass murderer. Not her own fault. She didn't... I mean, at one point, she was fine with it. But then she didn't want to do it. So we're B. Solidly B. Next is Akali. Can we just scroll down and... Yes, look at that. Perfect. So this is Akali. I need to... 19 years old. Like, yes, it's legal. And Akali is like an extremely trained assassin who is definitely like Akali's badass. But also I wouldn't unless I was like extremely, extremely drunk and forgot how old. Like, right? Like she's just too young. Yeah, the other ninja warriors here, besides Jin. Jin's on Ninja Warrior. Ashkan is next. He is from Shurima, which is like the desert area that had an empire collapse within it. Ashkan is known as being like charismatic and a strong sense of justice. You know, like it says, with a keen sense of justice and a legendary death-reversing weapon. He rights the wrongs of Runeterra's many scoundrels while living by his own mortal code, don't be an ass. The thing is, though, I find him insufferable. He is too good. I find him absolutely insufferable. B tier. I do find him like... no, that's fine. Okay, we're gonna pop a couple people. No, it's fine. We're going to keep going in order. And I feel like some champions. Okay, one, the fact that Aatrox only has one story when he is quite a bit of an older champion is absolutely ridiculous. It makes sense for Action, I want to say it, because he's a newer champion. But yeah. Alistar, he is a giant bull. He seeks vengeance for the death of his clan at the hands of the Noxian Empire. He was enslaved and forced to fight like a gladiator. And one of the things about League of Legends like champions is even if they're very like beasts, they're all very high intelligence. The Jack Harkness from Doctor Who has very good rules to live by when it comes to like other species. Is it of mature age for its species? Is it of high enough intelligence and cognizance? And can it like verbally and enthusiastically consent? Those are like the three things you have to consider. And also I know we haven't going into like the bios for each champion, but that's because they're long. Like this is, they write a lot for each champion, even when they don't actually like have a lot compared to everyone else. He got remodeled. Look at them pecs. But he's also a giant cow. Amumu is immediately going here because he's a literal child. Okay. Amumu, the sad mummy, is such a silly concept. Essentially, Amumu has been cursed. Like, he's a child who has been cursed to forever be alone and never have friends. So he's super sad, he's super crying. There is like myths and legends within League of Legends, like within the world about, you know, this, you hear crying from this set of ruins and you don't go near it because anyone who goes there ends up dying because of his curse. Anyone who like tries to befriend him, Amumu basically like eats their life essence. So he's just doomed to be eternally alone. And he's just a sad little mummy child. Sad little mummy child. Yeah. His touch is death, his affection ruin. So yeah, so literal child, he goes into F. Why does it, Amumu is also an older champion that I feel like, especially with the concept of like this like sad cursed child, could make some like great stories. I don't have it. Some art concepts where he's a little more creepy and not just like sad cute child. Next, Anivia. Now Anivia is one of like deities of the Frail Lord, I think. Benevolent winged spirit, like there's a great spirits basically of the Frail Lord. The other ones being Volibear and Ornn, and there's also the Iron Bull. So she's like ancient, protects tribes, giant, really badass bird. Some sketches. Oh, this reminds me of her Papercraft Anivia skin. At the end of the day, she is an ice burb, and I don't particularly think that would go over well. Annie's immediately being put into F tier. Again, literal child. Annie, I don't know why they like traumatized children. League of Legends, all the children are so traumatized. So Annie is a little girl who cannot control her fire powers. Yeah, she's a child mage with immense pyromantic power. So her mother died, and dad married New Woman. New Woman had her own daughter, was awful to Annie. Annie was really attached to this teddy bear Tibbers that her birth mother had given her. And this is shown in an animatic, which I highly recommend people look at. The like champion animations that Lee puts out. They're incredible. But um, Annie loses control uh, when the stepmother tries to take Tibbers, lights the cabin on fire, ends up killing her father and the other child. Um, and then, like, the ruins of the aftermath, the stepmother once again, um, like, she just, like, starts berating Annie. Annie completely loses it. Tibbers turns into this giant monstrous creature with like fire cracking out of him and like ganks the stepmom. Um, and then due to sheer trauma of that, Annie becomes a tiny little pyromaniac. Um, Heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking cinematic. So that would be like Annie and the other child, Annie and Tibbers, yeah, Annie and the stepmom. Drawings. Annie has some good art. And there's Tibbers all like powered up with the flames like ripping open his stitching. So yeah, Annie, very cool champion. Even more concept art. Dad. Next is Aphelios. So Aphelios is one of the more like I would say controversial champions. Um, Not only is because he's way too pretty to exist. Like look at how pretty he is. Holy shit. Um, the woman here is actually his sister. They're like linked and bonded on like two different sides of the same reality. I think how it goes. See if it explains more here. Yeah, he's guided by his sister Elune in her distant temple sanctuary, where she pushes an arsenal of moonstone weapons into his hands. For long as the moon shines overhead, Aphelios will never be alone. And so she's just like always around. Um, oh man, he needs art. Like, he'd be a cool name or art of a lot of these champions. Oh, and I've been forgetting to say like what regions they're from. He's from Targon, which you have two different cults or like organizations. You have the people who worship the moon and the people who worship the sun. Um, I will get into that more with Diana and Leona. But Pretty Boy, I'm solidly going to put at C. Like, I need a couple drinks in me to give me the confidence because I know his sister would also know. And that just feels weird to me. Next, the first champion I ever mained. Oh, I love her so much. I wish she would get a visual rework. Because, like, she's supposed to be this amazing leader in the Freljord, which is this tough Arctic wasteland, and this is her default skin. Why is it so skin tight? Why does it show much skin? Like, please just rework her design to not be utterly ridiculous and just like not make sense. Please and thank you. So, her goal is to unite all of Freljord under like one tribe, so that like there isn't all this infighting, especially since there's these creatures called like the void monsters who are trying to come out in the Watchers, and a lot of that's happening in the Freljord. She has a whole comic series that I highly, highly recommend reading. They are absolutely incredible. The short stories are great. So, like, why is there so much skin? Why is the skirt so short? Why? Like, why is her whole entire stomach showing? Like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. But, like, solid A tier. But who is she married? She's married to another champion. I forget who right now. But it always takes me off guard. Or Trinamere, I think it is. So Aurelian Soul is a star cosmic dragon who can literally create and destroy like solar systems. Yeah, and he's known as the Star Forger. And this pretty much sums him up like cower, worship, marvel. They're all appropriate responses. Aurelian Soul. He is full of himself. He is egotistical. Very clearly. He has some cool things. He has a dev blog. Short, because he recently, very recently actually got reworked so that he feels like you're more playing like this big, powerful cosmic god and not just like you're playing this derpy little star dragon. But like also he's solidly in D tier. Azir. So Azir is the last emperor of Shurima. He got killed after. So people who have proven themselves in the ancient empire of Shurima could go through the process to become an ascended. When this was happening, his best friend, quote unquote, who was a slave named Zareth, went into like the magic to become an ascendant instead of Azir, because Azir didn't keep his promise to free the enslaved people. So Azir was like understandably pissed. And in doing that, Azir basically, we'll get more into his, Zareth. But Azir died. The ascended became the corrupted. And the empire of Shurima fell. Now that he has been resurrected, one of his descendants, Severe, almost died. Her blood and magic made Azir come back to life and become like the first ascended in thousands of years. So he has a couple short stories: Arisen, Bloodline, The Legend of the Darkin, Twilight. He has a lot of stories, man. Here is Azir concept. I like the like more heavy bird imagery much better than slight bird themed gold armor. That's just a personal thing. He controls sand. He can make enemies like appear out of the sand. I don't know what's underneath that armor. So we're see. Listen. The Asol slander will stand. He is solidly D tier, and that is final. He's a giant dragon who can destroy universes and is also an egotistical asshole. I'm sorry, that's just how it be. Bard. I love playing Bard in ARAM, mainly because I go crit Bard and no one sees it coming. It's great. He's... What even is Bard? If Bard is Bard. He collects these cute little chimes and these cute little, they're called meeps. So he basically travels around collecting them, and how you know he's coming or is gone is you can hear these like chimes. He's just this good little happy spirit. Like, look at this man. This man would make you hot cocoa and drape around you like a homemade blanket. For a fact he would. And then the little meeps. 10 out of 10 would snuggle. He's in D tier though. Arf, 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 arf. Oh god, Void Mommy has such a hold on me. It's bad. So, Belveth is this monstrous void monster who seeks to absorb everything and everyone so that she may have all the knowledge and like everything is unified. You know what? I if she came and was like, it's time to be absorbed. It's time to join the city. I'm like, done. It was nice knowing everyone. Arf, arf. Yeah, no, she's, so, a nightmarish empress created from the raw material of an entire devoured city. So good. She has a cool story, with Kaisa, who we'll get into later. Kaisa is also a very, very cool champion. But yeah. Can I get this, like, top thing to go so I can show y'all? Let me actually show y'all her, like, spell. Empress of the Void. I don't want the song. I just want the splash art. The full splash art. Her face. Look at her. And she's actually this, like, yeah. Here's, like, her, like, actual form. She's this cool manta ray thing. That can just make herself look humanoid. Is it, are we really into the, okay, we're already at Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is a robot, who was made in Zon. So if you've watched, God, my mind's fucking blank. If you watch Arcane, you know about Piltover and Zon. Piltover is like the shining city, the beacon of, hope and of progress, and look at how fancy everyone is. Zon is like the underbelly, that has been discarded and, abused and neglected by Piltover. So a lot of interesting creations come out of Zon. Blitzcrank is one of them. He was made to dispose of harmful waste, but has gained sentience. Has a cool story. Here is some of the art. At the end of the day, he is still just like he's a super smart AI. He's a robot, and I feel like that's, like, it's illegal. So he's an F tier. Next is Brand. Brand, as you can see, is entirely on fire. He's like if that guy in, oh, what was it? Oh, it was, oh my goodness, now my mind's blanking. I think it was in Suicide Squad, the first one, with like the guy who didn't want to use his flame powers and then he ended up doing it, all burnt. Yeah, Brand. Except, you know, he is always looking like this, like extra crispy toast. Okay, so he used to be a Freljordian named Keegan Road. Probably saying that wrong. He was, so there's these world ruins, which are stones with immense amount of power. They're highly sought after. He sought one, betrayed his companions, took it for himself, and as a punishment for being a dick, his soul burned away, just leaving this. He is solidly in F tier, as that would kill me. Braum, oh my god, Braum is like the definition of will protect but also attack and give you a snack. He is best friends with these things called Poros. Not Poros Greece, Poros League of Legends. Look at how freaking cute these motherfuckers are. And he is best friends with them. Like, can't go wrong. It's like he's known, blessed with massive biceps and an even bigger heart. Like, he's a cheerful protector, helping the vulnerable as he works towards his dream of a peaceful Freljord. Like, y'all would do the do, and then he would go into the kitchen and like make you a gourmet hot chocolate, and then just whip you up a couple of quote unquote quick snacks, and just like bring you a little snack tray in bed. I would murder Void Mommy for this man. He is like, I would probably eventually get tired of just how pure and good he is. Um, not even gonna lie. Um, but also, if anyone ever tried to hurt that man, I would shank them after making them watch all their family members die. Like, you know, he is just too good for this world. Like, look at little Boros. Oh, so good. So good. And I mean, look at those muscles. Alright, I am not a thin person. And so if I come across someone that could easily toss me around, A plus. A plus, my friends. He's just a good man with a good mustache. I'm glad they went with the one they did. Very good. Next is Caitlyn, which, if y'all have watched Arcane, you're familiar with her. This is her pre-Arcane design, very like steampunk Mad Hatter, aristocrat sort of thing, very steampunky. She has a very, very nice accent, both in Arcane and out of Arcane. Outside of Arcane, she is quite a bit older. So outside of Arcane, she has already been part of the Enforcers for quite a bit, along with Vi. She has, like, known enemies, people she's been hunting down for years. And so, like, when I just go like this, y'all can't say shit because I'm going based off of in-game Caitlyn, not Arcane Caitlyn, who is, like, 2021 at best, if we're being generous. Because she's, like, I think of her as, like, university age. Here, like, in-game, I think she's probably in her, like, late 20s. Mid to late 20s. Which is close to my age. Like, I'm in my late 20s. So. Next is Camille. I feel like people think I would be more into Camille, but meh. And it's mainly because she's an enforcer, it often goes into Zon. And, like, goes and is basically like, I will make Zon obey and fall under the rule of Piltover, and so because she is very strongly a cop, she's in D. Maybe some people are into that, and she also, let me find Camille splash art, because she has cool legs. I want y'all to see her legs. Oh my god, why is it so shit? Can we get, like, good art? There we go. Like, look at her legs. She has cool mechanical pointy legs that she can stab you with. They're very cool. She also has Attack on Titan things where she can just, like, zoop. Man, not my thing. She's a cop. And, like, I also get that Caitlyn's a cop, but Caitlyn is a cop that in a revolt or a revolution would join Zon's side in a heartbeat. And I believe that with my whole heart. Cassiopeia. So Cassiopeia was not originally a pretty snake woman. She originally was, or was she? Oh my god. Okay, yeah, I forget if she was, like, born that way and shunned, or if she got cursed. She got cursed when she went into the crypts beneath Shurima in search of ancient power, bitten by a gruesome tomb guardian who turned her into that. She's very fun to play in ARAM. And I'd be intimidated by her, but get a couple drinks into me, and it'd be fine. Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath is one of the void creatures that I mentioned earlier. Very much a void monster. He, in game, eats people and grows really large, and sometimes he can take up a whole lane and you see nothing but Cho'Gath. And that is always a little terrifying when you see that barreling down towards you. Not a good time. Yeah, he basically is, he just wants to eat everything. And that's it. That is Cho'Gath. He's a monster. He wants to devour everything. Moving on to Corki. So Corki is this mustache man. I think he's a Yordle. Pretty sure. Yordles are, yeah, Vandal City, he's a Yordle. Are tiny little magical furry creatures who, despite all being the same species, look wildly different. Because, like, this one that looks like an old man, he's a Yordle. This science experiment guinea pig gone wrong, also a Yordle. This 90s villain, like video game villain, also a Yordle. He loves flying and his mustache. And fell in love with Piltover. You know, the uppity aristocrats. So he's in D. Like, just no. Not happening. Next is Darius. Now, I know a lot of people have a thing for Darius because he is a large, muscled man who could throw almost anyone like a ragdoll. But he is also a commander for Noxus, which are basically colonizers on steroids. And like, again, history only remembers the victors, stand with Noxus, and be remembered forever. Very much like we're going to conquer everything and erase everyone else and their culture if they stand against us. And we're even going to erase their culture if you join us. Because the only culture you should have is Noxus. So he is a big, strong man who is a mass murderer and a colonizer. So he is solidly, like, look at this trash fire of a man. Absolute trash fire. Like, you're in full armor, bra. Why do you need a loincloth? So, yeah, he is solidly D tier. And next is Diana. She's part of that, like, Lunari moon worshipping people. So you can see she got like a cool weapon. She got a glowing symbol on her head. Her hair does weird things, very much like main character energy. And she is a living embodiment of the Silver Moon's power, imbued with the essence of an aspect from beyond Hargon's towering summit. So for those who don't know what aspects are, basically like concepts or things that have enough power have sentience. So like Twilight, Justice, those can have, like, the concept can have sentience, and choose someone within the world to be essentially like their champion and give them a portion of their power, transforming them into something not quite human. So there's a couple of those. So Leona, Tariq, Zoe, they're also aspects. I'm gonna put Diana. She's real intimidating and is going through some, like, self-identity issues that I don't want to be wrapped up. And she is also highly in love with Leona, and I don't want to get in between that. So I'm going to put her in C tier. But if her and Leona... Oh, hit my mic. But if her and Leona invited me, I would not say no. Would need a couple drinks because that's a very intimidating combo. But moving on to Dr. Mundo. Dr. Mundo, Madman of Zon, So in Zon, there is this like chemical that can be turned into a liquid, a powder, a crystal called shimmer. Um, and people have Zon have figured out that you can use that to like speed up healing, bring someone from the brink of death, enhance for a short or prolonged period of time. But what this does is also twists and mutates the person. Um, Again, if you've watched Arcane, you know that Jinx gets injected with shimmer, and that's how she lives. But why she goes completely off the deep end instead of, just a lot of therapy would be able to bring her back. Um, I have my theories. Like, I'm pretty sure we're going to see Dr. Mundo in, uh, in Arcane, and I have my theories for who Dr. Mundo might have originally been. But I'm going to keep this to myself. Dr. Mundo believes he is a doctor. And as it says, utterly mad, tragically homicidal, and horrifyingly purple. He believes he is a physician and was once in an asylum, but he cured, aka murked, all of the staff. And basically he was experimented on to the point where he has gone absolutely mad. So, because he has gone absolutely out of his brain, why is there an ad here? Hide something on this page. I do not want this ad in my face. Can I slide? There we go. So because he is completely out of his mind and cannot consent, that would be illegal. And therefore, F tier. Next is freaking Draven. I hate Draven. So Draven is from Noxus. He's a colonizer. He is Darius's brother. And Draven essentially, so in Noxus, you prove yourself through battles and blood. So there's a lot of warrior arenas where people willingly fight each other, and oftentimes to the death, to gain status and fame and glory within Noxus. Draven is basically the top kingpin, best fighter, murderer there currently is. He has, as a result, he has a huge ego. It even says, like, he must, Draven has sworn to defeat whoever he must to ensure that his name is chanted throughout the Empire forevermore. So he is just a trash man like his brother. Just a trash little colonizer. And as a result, he goes in D tier. Next we have Ekko, my namesake, who is a literal child. I think, like, Ekko age, League of Legends. Okay, so he's 19 to 20 years old. It's like, I still feel like he's an actual literal child. So we're just gonna chuck him into D tier. He's also, like, so outside of the game, he is also highly traumatized. So he has a device that allows him to rewind, but only 10 seconds. And any pain he's experienced in those 10 seconds, he still feels after he rewinds time. And so lots of times he rewinds times to stop his friends from dying. And sometimes he fails multiple times before he stops them from dying. So he has seen his friends and his loved ones die countless times and has experienced, like, almost dying and having horrific injuries multiple times. But it never actually happened because he rewound time. Dude needs therapy so hard, is what I'm getting at. He needs therapy so freaking hard. He has a really cool weapon, though. He got cool hair. Next is Elise, who is a sexy spider woman. Why does she have a whole bunch of skin showing and is basically in a catsuit? Who knows? This is League. League does not know how to make women just exist. It's a thing. Um, so she basically, think of like a Black Widow who is an ambush predator. So she lives in Noxus and was once the mistress of a powerful noble house. Spider of power, or bite of a spider god transformed her into what she is now, and so she will lure people deep into like the crypts of her dilapidated estate and into caverns so that she can eat them and consume them. So seeing as I would not survive an encounter with her, we're going to put her in F tier. It also feels illegal. Next is Evelyn. And as much as I want to rank Evelyn higher, her whole thing is... So, Evelyn was basically formed from thoughts of, like, darkness and lust and desire and envy. And so, she's this demon who lures people to their, like, basically death by snoo snoo is her whole thing. She's also a huge masochist and sadist. And her voice lines in game are pretty funny because she hits on Mundo and Aurelian Soul. But seeing as her whole thing again is she wants to murk anyone she badoinky doinks with, we are solidly putting her in F tier because never in a million trillion years. Next we have Ezreal, who I learned he has a fake name in Piltover. And wait till y'all learn what Ezreal's fake name is. Ezreal. I also had to look up his age earlier because I was like, I feel like he's a child. Ezreal, other name. Where is it? Does it have it listed here? Jarrow Lightfeather. He uses the alias Jarrow Lightfeather in Piltover. So he's about 20 years old, out of game, but I feel like he is still like, he's like Ekko, where he's like, he comes across as like a literal child in my mind. He's also horribly in love with Lux, and it's completely one-sided. Lux doesn't even know like he really exists. So he's getting put into D tier. Next is Fiddlesticks, who I really like the visual rework that they did. He feels a lot more terrifying. And this is the stuff of nightmares. He, like it says here, ageless horror known as Fiddlesticks. Wielding a jagged scythe, the haggard makeshift creature reaps fear itself, shattering the minds of those unlucky enough to survive in its wake. Beware the sounding of the crow or the whispering of the shape that appears almost human. And, like, you know what feels illegal? Even considering that. Like, nah. It's not gonna happen. Another champion I wish they would do more stories for, they'd do more art for, because he is such a freaking cool concept. And I wish they would do more with him. But it seems like they just neglect their more demonic and monstrous champions, and they need to stop. Next is Fiora. She is from Demacia. And Demacia likes to put itself as like the shining bastion of peace, and we're a utopia. But actually, did you know that magic is illegal? And they have a whole faction of mage hunters dedicated to hunting down innocent people born with magic, locking them up, and then torturing them until they expire. And really, Fiora is not special. Like, she was born to a noble house, the Laurent family. Father was in a scandal that nearly destroyed them, and now she's like, I'm gonna be the best fancy sword fighter so I can restore my family's honor. Like, there are more important things, like, to worry about. So she's just, like, a fancy, rich sword fighter. So, like, if I had a couple drinks in me, like, maybe a lot of drinks, I would be able to look over how much privilege and how insufferable she is. I would, like, because she's also, like, she is really pretty. She is really pretty, and I'm sure because she's part of a noble family, she also has a lot of education and be really interesting to talk to. But also, like, fancy sword fighting is, like, the most important thing in her life and has consumed it. Next is Fizz, who I think is also a Yordle, amphibian Yordle. I don't know. He is a tiny little shithead who, in League, is basically, yeah, amphibious Yordle. He basically is just like a trickster who also sometimes stabs people. He's ageless, but comes across as a child, so I feel like it's illegal. And, like, his concept's really cool, his art's really cool, and I think it would be really cool if League more explored the, like, lore and legends surrounding Fizz. Do I ever want to see him in game? No. Never. Fuck the Fizz. Not literally. Because he's F tier. Next is Galio, who is a giant stone statue of magic in Demacia. You might notice that the Demacian royal family is hypocritical, and so they have this giant magic statue called Galio. You know, built against enemy mages. So because he is like a construct who's basically like programmed to listen to whoever magic summons him, like I don't feel he has a lot of free will and therefore the ability to consent. Therefore, it feels highly illegal and he's an F tier. Next is Gangplank, who's a stinky old pirate man. He decided he commissioned guns from Miss Fortune's mother and then ganked her. And essentially to Miss Fortune was like, yeah, try to kill me one day, you stupid little kid. I'm gonna murder you too. Watch me. And essentially sent Miss Fortune on her whole, like, murder, revenge, I'm gonna become the baddest ass bitch pirate. He has been dethroned. He's no longer the Reaver King. But he's a murderer. He is stinky. He ganks people for no reason. He's a bad businessman. Like, you don't commission someone to make you nice guns and then kill them with the guns you commissioned them to make. You just don't do that. So because he's a stinky old man, he is solidly in D tier. Stinky old man. Next is Garen, who is part of the royal family of Demacia and therefore fucking insufferable. A proud and noble soldier, Garen fights at the head of the dauntless vanguard. He is popular among his fellows. Like, he is what you think if you think like the goody two-shoe paladin who is so blinded by a sense of like justice and has been so brainwashed that he can't see that the society he's fighting for is utterly corrupt and needs to be dismantled. And yeah, you know, his whole thing is he is an expert at murdering mages and sorcerers on the battlefield. You know who's a mage? His sister. They're also part of the royal family. He's the prince. He goes in D tier. Because he's awful. Next is Nar, who's also a Yordle. He's a very, like, primitive Yordle, though. He only says Nar. And he can transform... Nar transformed. Images. Yeah, he turns into this. And while he has like enough intelligence to like make traps, and that I don't like, he only says nar. He doesn't have the like language, and also he's a tiny little yordle, and so because of that, he gets put into D tier. Next is Gregus, who's another stinky man. Gregus' whole thing is he is a brewmaster who likes to constantly be drunk and make lots of booze. He likes to start brawls, and especially like bar brawls, and like he likes to destroy whole taverns and be with the bar brawls. But that's how you tell a party was a good time. And like it says, any appearance from Gregus must surely foreshadow drinking and destruction, which means this man does not know how to take responsibility for his actions. He like doesn't know how to be mindful of his surroundings. Like this man, you know, is just a full-on jackass. As a result, he goes in D tier. Next is Graves. Graves is less stinky of a man, who also is with Twisted Fate. They're very cute together. So one, I don't want to get involved, like I don't want to get in between that. But also, I love, also for those who don't know, his first name is Malcolm. His name is Malcolm Graves. But he's also like, he's a gambler. He has a bit of a gambling problem, which is like, and he's a thief. Again, a wanted man in every city and empire he visits. Explosive temper. You know, solves issues with his guns rather than talking them out. And so, like, you know what? Maybe we were both in a bar and I got really drunk. Because I know this man also, like, afterwards would just, like, light a cigar and fucking leave. So I have to be drunk to not be emotionally destroyed by that. So we're gonna put in C tier. Because, like, I'm not gonna lie, he has that, like, chubby fit dad bod. And I like dad bods. Next is Gwen. Now, Gwen is immediately being put into F tier because that feels highly illegal. And the reason for this is Gwen is a doll brought to life, not just any doll. So there's a Viego, right? Viego had a wife, and that wife's childhood doll was Gwen. So you know what every little princess wants, you know, it was a doll that was a perfect pretty princess who went on magical adventures and had a cool big weapon that was indestructible and takes no damage. And then when Viego tries to bring his wife back to life, part of the soul ends up yeeting itself into Gwen. And when Gwen comes alive and is able to command the Howl Mist, she realizes that she can now fight back against Viego. She very much is a child and is like a doll brought to life with not her own soul. So she is solidly in F tier because feels illegal. Highly illegal. But look how cool her giant scissors are. So next is Hecarim. Hecarim is from the Shadow Isles, which is what happened during the Renation when Viego tried to bring his wife back to life the first time. Hecarim was part of the Guard of the Blessed Isles. And he got sort of mishmashed and transformed and mutated with the horse he was riding into the demonic being we know as Hecarim, who just wants to murder. Basically, like, whenever the Black Mist... So the Black Mist is pretty contained to the Shadow Isles, but can sometimes be yeeted out. Oftentimes in bilge water. And so he can leave the Shadow Isles during that time and basically goes on a murdering rampage. As a result of this man being nothing but a murderous rampage, D tier. No One Lives is the name of a short story. Like, the despoiler of Heavenfall. D tier. Next we have another little shit yordle. His name is Heimer. You will recognize him if you've watched Arcane. And what else is there to say? He served on the council. He innovates a whole bunch of Piltover. He's the one that found Victor and like brought him into Piltover. But very much he's like, Piltover is the beacon of innovation. Kinda fuck you, Zon. And also he's a sneaky little Yordle, which puts him solidly in D tier. Next is Alawi, the Kraken priestess. She could toss me around and I would let her. So she is the prophet of the great Kraken, and as a result, the Kraken, the god of the Serpent Isles, fight by her side, so she's able to like summon tentacles from the deep and like grab people's souls and beat on them, and she's just freaking badass. And as a result of that, gets solidly boop boop. A tier. Sober. All she'd have to do to ask, I'm down. I would not die for her though. And that's why she's not S tier. Next is Aurelia, who's from Ionia. Ionia is like the pan-Asian inspired area. And so you're going to see a lot of like different Asian inspired elements within the champion. Or like the champions. So we have Aurelia. She is able to do this like dance fight. So she is trained in the ancient dances of her province and adapted to the art of war with these blades that she is able to control with her movements, and they are like a bunch of individual blades. I wish they would do more with Aurelia because she seems like a really cool champion, but they just haven't really expanded on her like much in much of anything. We do know that she fights against Noxus, which they go fighting against colonizers. So I'm gonna bip her over in C tier. No, you know what? Just only a couple drinks. B tier. Next is Ivern. Every time I see Ivern, I just have like the green giant little bum 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 in my head. Welcome to the no longer lurking. So like, Ivern is one of those champions that I would want to go foraging with in the woods and have a cute little picnic and then fall asleep cuddling by the fire. I would not badoink. He's like a half man, half tree who roams Runeterra, cultivating life and the secrets of the natural world. And he's friends with like animals. I mean, look at all the cute little wolfies he's friends with. But yeah, so it's like D tier. Next is Janna, which I really hope we see in Arcane. So Janna, despite not having the aesthetics for it, is actually from Zon. She is an ancient and mysterious wind spirit that was sort of like lost and forgotten within ruins within Zon, and is discovered and has now like sworn an oath as a protector of Zon. So she's extremely ancient, extremely powerful, and is like a beacon of hope and just known as like a good person. Also another champion I wish they would do a little more with. Because she is old and ancient and extremely powerful, I am extremely intimidated by her. I also, like, she is also really freaking thin. She is so skinny. She's just itty bitty. And I'd be afraid to break her. So I need a couple drinks that are probably like, you know, tequila shots. Give me some confidence. I'm not gonna like accidentally break her. Because she's so tiny. She's so little. So next is Jarvan. Stinky Demacia man. The king's only son, Prince Javan, is heir apparent to the throne of Demacia. He is to be a paragon of the nation's great virtues, like murdering mages just for being born with magic. So basically he upholds colonial standards, and lots of war, lots of murdering innocent mages who just want to live. As a result, the stinky man goes in D. Next is Jax. We don't know what Jax is. Assume he is some sort of troll because he only has 3 fingers, which is a feature of trolls within League of Legends. He is a weapon master. His home was destroyed. Wants to defeat the voids. He travels looking for warriors strong enough. And like, again, we don't really know what he is. His whole thing is like, he's just fueled by pure vengeance. Man needs some therapy. All he does is make weapons and look for fighters to like fight. Solidly D tier. Next is another insufferable man from Piltover. Jace. So in the game, again, quite a bit ahead. He is like, I feel like he's in his 30s in the game. Like he got that stubble even though he just shaved. He got some lines and like he's solidly in his 30s, I feel like. Brilliant inventor, left behind his friend in the pursuit of bettering Piltover and fuck Zon, basically, even though he wanted to do everything for Zon to begin with. Yeah, he's basically heart was in the right place when he started, and now he's just another like paladin brainwashed dick archetype. As a result, he is solidly D tier. Can you tell I don't like stinky men who uphold colonialism? Next is Jin. Jin is an artist. His whole art form is murdering people. He wants to murder people in creative, elaborate, beautiful ways. He believes that the art of murdering people is like the purest art form. Art requires a certain cruelty. So he's a criminal psychopath who murders art. He used to be an Ionian prisoner. They got freed, and is now a killer who works as their cabal's assassin. And he gains cruel pleasure from putting on the gruesome theater. We also have never seen like underneath his mask. We have no idea what's beneath that. D tier. Don't think there's more to say. The mind of a virtuoso is amazing. And like the login theme, the music video are all just gorgeous. Next we have Jinx. So this is Jinx design, pre-Arcane. Very much this like jester, manic pixie dream girl sort of vibes. I think she's like 20, early 20s in the game. And yeah, she's maniac, impulsive criminal from Zon. She basically just likes to blow things up, cause mayhem with no like rhyme or reason. If she's bored, she blows things up and murders people. Get Jinxed was actually one of the first League of Legends music videos I ever watched. And it's what very much got me so much into League to begin with. And yes, Ziggs is a Yordle who also likes to blow things up, and so sometimes they just go around and blow things up together. But because she's absolutely bonkers, mainly from the shimmer and also all the goddamn trauma, she is solidly in D tier. Like, please be within a sane state of mind, or at least sane-ish. Kai'Sa! So, briefly mentioned Kai'Sa when I was talking about Void Mommy. And oh, okay. So in the comments, Night Thought just said I could see Janna joining with the firelights in Arcane. My theory is that Ekko finds Janna, and that's how she gets pulled into Arcane. So her joining the firelights would make perfect sense. Okay, back to Kaisa. So y'all remember Void Mommy? Kaisa fights her. Kaisa was claimed by the Void when she was a child, managed to survive, but as a result is like she has the what's over her is actually like a void creature. So he has like a symbiotic relationship with it, and did that as a mean of survival. And so she basically goes around, if there's, sometimes the void will leak into parts of Runeterra, and so she'll go and destroy them. She's ended up having fights, like fighting alongside Ezreal and a couple other people as well. She is kind of a badass. Like the void is this terrible, awful place where unless you are part of the void, and even if you're part of the void, everything is trying to kill and consume each other to become more powerful so that they can break into other realities and other dimensions so that they can then take over and become even more powerful. Very much intimidates me, but would only need a couple drinks for confidence. Callista. Callista is no longer just one being. So Callista was someone who was extremely fierce, extremely loyal when she was alive, and then she was horribly betrayed when the Renation happened and turned into Callista, who is now essentially the spirit of vengeance. So if you, especially around Bilgewater, like if you, are on a ship and you betray your crewmates and take all the money for yourself, if those crewmates survive, they're likely to call Callista to come and claim your ass and drag your soul back to the Shadow Isles for all of eternity. Also, if you are betrayed and that betrayal kills you, you then basically essentially become part of Callista. Callista is no longer a single person, but the hundreds of thousands of betrayed souls who only seek vengeance and to help other people get their vengeance. And getting consent from that many people just seems like too much work. D tier. There's a book coming out about Viego and the Runation, and I cannot wait to read more about Callista. Next is Karma. She is from Ionia. Again, you can see those sort of pan-Asian influences, especially in the architecture, and the big waterfalls from the big pieces of rock and all that. She is very traditional and is a living embodiment of an ancient soul reincarnated countless times, carrying with her all accumulated memories into the new life and blessed with power only few can comprehend. So essentially the avatar, but instead of the elements, is just like spirit power. She is big on like peace and harmony, but knows that sometimes peace and harmony doesn't come with just talking, and so is also willing to kick ass. And yeah, she's been reincarnated countless of times and has all those memories. So I'm very intimidated by her. She is solidly C tier. We need to be very, very drunk to not be horribly intimidated by this very powerful being. Next is Karthus, also from the Shadow Isles. Might see that there's a lot from the Shadow Isles. And just the Harbinger of Oblivion, an undying spirit whose haunting songs are a prelude to the horror of his nightmarish appearance. The living fear the eternity of undeath, but Karthus sees only beauty and purity in its embrace, a perfect union of life and death. Basically, this man was once human and was so much into but what about undeath? The Shadow Isles contain undeath. I shall go there. I went to the Shadow Isles, and the Shadow Isles were like, hey, my boy. And he became Karthus. Just a bringer of death and destruction. And as a result, he is solidly D tier. Next is Cassidon. Cassidon is... I don't even know what Cassidon is. Cassidon is a creature who is... Okay. He fights void constructs, and is in search of the self-proclaimed prophet Malzahar. Like, he's traveled a lot. He's, you know, widely traveled streamer, guide, and adventurer. Village was consumed by the void, and eventually, like, the void consumed also him, but transformed him with his drive for vengeance. And now he's just freaking obsessed with Malzahar. So, like, pre-being transformed, he would have been, like, a C. Now that he's transformed and a weird void man, he is solidly D. Next, we're going with Katarina, which, again, fix your character design leagues. You don't need to throw off the tatas every single fucking time. She is a Noxian assassin, so immediately a colonizer. We know what tier she's going to end up in. The eldest daughter to the legendary general Duo Kuto. She basically is really good with the dagger. Does a lot of murdering. Does a lot of stabby stabs. But again, is the daughter of a high-ranking colonizer and is a proud colonizer herself. D tier with all the other Noxians. Next is Kale. So that's Morgana here. Kale's here. Kale and Morgana are sisters. So she is our Targonian aspect. She is the aspect of justice, I believe it is. Kale became disillusioned with the repeating failing of mortals and abandoned Runeterra altogether. So yeah, she basically was like, wow, humans suck. Peace out. I know I'm supposed to be the aspect of justice and help protect y'all, but fuck all of you. I'm out, because I'm a god and I'm above you. Yeah, no human is perfect, but I am no human. So yeah, that's Kale. She's kind of full of herself. And also super powerful. And also would probably stab anyone who she thought even slightly wronged her. As a result, she goes into D tier. Next is Kanye. So Kanye, or Kane is his actual name. I just always call him Kanye because my partner freaking did forever. He wields a Darkin blade. So when the Ascended got corrupted into the Darkin, they got locked into weapons and then sealed away. But what happens if a mortal touches this weapon is often the Darkin is powerful enough to take over the human, and sort of like take over their body and transform them, which is how we get Aatrox. Kane wields a Darkin weapon but has not been taken over by the Darkin Rost. In game, you can actually decide whether Kane wins and becomes a Shadow Assassin, or Rost wins and he becomes like a full-on Darkin. The child is gone, the killer remains. He is the Sasuke of League of Legends. He is the edgy emo boy. He practices shadow magic, and his first name is Shida Kane. I love when they have like other names. It's the best shit. He's in the Ionia region, but I also like, I believe he's quite young. No, not Kanye. Kane. Age. God, I can't write. I'm just so mad Kanye actually came up. Okay, so he's around 20 years old. very much still feels like a small traumatized child to me. Um, so D tier. Okay, and they also included Rost on this, so I have to show you guys what Rost, League of Legends. Look at this man. Look at this trash man, who is a Darkin. So someone who was once sworn to protect Shurima, got corrupted, and then now just is fueled by murder. You can join the other Darkin right there. And then Shadowcane, again, traumatized child. Even as a shadow assassin. Next we have another Yordle. Can anyone guess what region the ninja is from? Couldn't be Ionia. He controls lightning power. He is a member of the ancient Kinku order, and is a Yordle. The first and only Heart of the Tempest. So another thing about Yordles is they live for centuries upon centuries upon centuries. They are very old and very ancient, most of them, because they are beings of pure magic. Kennen works with the Eye of Twilight, who is Shen, who we'll go over later, to protect the fragile harmony of the First Lands. Again, because he is a small little Yordle, he immediately gets booped into D tier. Next we have another void creature, Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix is basically a evil praying mantis. That is a void creature. And the void is constantly growing as it absorbs new things and adapting to combat those that are fighting against it, to then absorb them to continue evolving and growing. So one of these evolution void monsters are Kha'Zix and others like him, whose whole thing is to kill, consume, and adapt. Like it says, Kha'Zix's intelligence has developed as much as its form, so does have a certain level of intelligence, can communicate, can plan, utilizes visceral terror, so also like can plan that is spooky, but is a void monster, and that kind of feels illegal. So F tier with the other very much void monster. None of you in the chat at me. None of you in the chat at me for where I am ranking Kindred. I swear to God. So Kindred is an eternal hunter. There's Wolf and Lamb. They represent the two sides of death. Kindred is the lamb, which is sort of when you accept death. Kindred is the one, or Lamb is the one that will greet you. You know, a single arrow to your heart, something quick, something kind, something you don't fight against. If you fight against your death, if you run from your death, Wolf is who hunts you down, and Wolf relishes in that. There's actually a story that Kindred tells, or Lamb tells Wolf, about how originally Death was a single man, but was so lonely in being Death, in being who he was, and having to carry out his job alone, that he split his soul into two, so that one would never be without the other, and he would never be alone, thus giving us Lamb and Wolf. They are very cool. They are very awesome. Don't at me! Next is Clud, who's a shit little Yordle who rides this derpy little thing called Zippy. The lizard's name is Zippy. So yeah, he is a Noxian Yordle fighter. He likes to fight and be in the wars and murder, and colonizer plus Yordle equal infinite F tier. Next is Kog'Maw, which, known as the Mouth of the Abyss, and quote isn't even from Kog'Maw, because I don't think Kog'Maw can't speak. Um, their mouth is just spews acid and like caustic liquid all the time. Void spawn. Um, they need to gnaw and drool and everything. They're essentially like um, uh, a puppy that just wants to chew on everything, and therefore does not have the language or the cognizance to give consent. F tier. 10 out of 10, not boinkable, but would definitely find a way to keep Kog'Maw as like a cute little acid puppy. Next is Cassante. Oh man, this man. So Cassante is a beast hunter, and that's what he does, is he fights off big beasts and monsters that threaten his like home, essentially. He is an ascended. He protects his home of Nazuma, which is a coveted oasis among the sands of Shurima. He's the newest champion and also gay. And Bork. If that man's like, hey, I need to be bait to draw in this dangerous monster so that we can kill it. Tell me where I need to stand. Do I need to pose? Do I need to like be on a food platter? I'm done. Sign me up. Even the worst dog is still a good boy. Yes, exactly. Oh my god, yes. Listen, don't call me out. Don't call me out. So next is LeBlanc. From Noxus, she's part of the Black Rose Cabal. She basically uses her magic to manipulate and control people and to assassinate them. Colonizer but magic is essentially what she is. And as a result, she goes into D tier with all of her other colonizer friends. Next is Lee Sin. I mean, she is really pretty. Like, she's super pretty, but also colonizer. Fun fact, one of Cassante's lines, specifically to Swain, who's also from Noxus, is like, colonizer, how do you want to die today? And I freaking love it. So Lee Sin is from, you guessed it, Ionia. He is blind, wears a blindfold over his eyes, and is super good at martial arts. The Daredevil of Ionia, so to speak. He meditates a lot and likes to roundhouse kick things. Doesn't seem to have real personality outside of that. So, C tier. Next is Leona, who, remember, is with Diana, but Leona is part of the Solari. She defends Mount Targon with her Zenith Blade and Shield of the Daybreak. She's a holy warrior. Her like skin literally shimmers with like the power of the sun. Yeah, armored in gold and bearing a terrible burden of ancient knowledge, Leona brings enlightenment to some and death to others. Again, Targon, and she's super awesome. Look at her and Diana. Look at her and Diana. Oh, they're so good. They're so cute. They're my favorite lesbians. Oh, they're so good. But again, I wouldn't want to come in between that. So she goes in C tier, and of course I have to put her beside her girlfriend. Because like if they asked, I would. But like I wouldn't want to do anything to make that relationship go bad. You know? Next is Lilia. Lilia, I feel like gets not enough love. Like, she's a pretty good champion in League, and I get like the magical woods centaur fawn isn't like super original, but look how freaking pretty she is, and look how sweet she is, and like the bashful bloom like she has this she's very shy, she's very skittish, she's a fae fawn. um she is just absolutely captivated by humans and everything about them and wants to learn everything about them. She has a magical branch and tries to find people's unrealized dreams and help them realize them. um and like it says, only then can Lilia herself bloom and help others untangle their fears and find their sparkle within. Like, she is just a pure little soul. I would feel like I was taking advantage of her. Um, and I know she's too shy to actually, like, make the first move. So, like, she's in C tier. Next is Lysandra. Lysandra is from the Freljord. She is the leader of the Frost Guard. Many believe she is a living saint whose followers bring healing and wisdom to the tribes of the Freljord. But she's actually using her elemental magic to twist the power of the true ice into something dark and terrible, and can then entomb or impale any who reveal her darkest secrets. And she essentially wants to become super powerful and take over everything. And I believe is also trying to help the Watchers come through, which are like the big powerful void creatures. So I mean, I'm not gonna deny she's hot. Hot, but she's covered in ice, get it? But also, she evil and deceiving everyone. She's solidly in D tier. Next is Lucian. I much prefer his wife. So Lucian is a Sentinel of Light. His wife, Senna, was killed and had her soul absorbed by Thresh. Lucian made it his mission to fight the Shadow Isles and the Black Mist and return her to life. And he was actually successful. She is now back to life. He is very, very dedicated to his wife and the Sentinels of Light, and like defeating Viego and the Black Mist and stopping the Black Mist from consuming as much people as they can. Again, one of those things. It's like, I would not pursue Lucian. If Lucian asked me, I like immediately look at Senna and be like, is it okay? Is it okay? So again, like, situational. Next is Lulu, who's a little Yordle, so automatically we know where she's gonna go. She... Dogs. Why are you barking? She accommodates dreamlike illusions and fanciful creatures, and has a fairy companion named Pix, who she travels with. She can sort of like shape reality on a tiny scale. So she can like turn one thing into another, but it's only like momentarily. And she also is like pretty childlike, and believes, everyone can use a touch of enchantments. Everyone can, doesn't realize that like maybe you should be a little more careful with your magic. And it's from Bandle City, which is like the city of the Yordles. And if you ever heard like, it tastes purple, that comes from Lulu. We've mentioned Lux a couple times, so Lux, or Luxana Crownguard, Luxana is her full name, is part of the royal family in Demacia. She has magic powers, ended up leading to a rebellion and a mass murderer getting out that led to a lot of damage, and now a civil war. She can bend light to her will, and because she's part of the noble family, the royal family, she like had to grow up in hiding her powers and being ashamed of it. And then, she caused a revolution and is now in exile, trying to prove herself, redeem herself, so she can go back to Demacia for some fucking reason. As I mentioned before, Ezreal is absolutely head over heels for Lux. Lux does not know he exists. As far as we know, does not have a crush on anyone. Um, Again, she's a little young. Again, that whole like comes off as like a very traumatized child, even though I think she's in her 20s. So she gets to join the other traumatized children. Next is Malphite, who is like a rock thing. He's from Ixtal. And he is a creature of living stone. He was born from the heart of the great Ixtal construct, known as a monolith. He studied elemental balance of Runeterra for centuries. Went to sleep for a bit. Now everything's going to shit. And he's like, I am here. But again, he's a rock thing. Feels illegal. Okay, now we're gonna go to Malzahar the False Prophet. Sorry. Malzahar, the Prophet of the Void. So Void Mommy reaches out to Malzahar and is basically like, you are my prophet. Spread the joy of the void. And, he gazed into the dark heart of the void itself and was gifted a new power and purpose. And is now just trying to get people to join the void, like some sort of creepy freaking cult. He is solidly in D tier. We have yet another tree man. This one is Maokai, the twisted treant. All around me are empty husks, soulless and unafraid, but I will bring them fear. He is a rageful, towering treant who fights the natural horrors of the Shadow Isles. Twisted into a force of vengeance after a magical cataclysm destroyed his home, surviving undeath only through the waters of life infused within his heartwood. He was once a peaceful nature spirit, but now he basically fights in the Shadow Isles constantly. Again, a really cool champion. They could do a lot more with him. But he's also solidly D tier. Next we have, you guessed it, another Ionian. How could you tell? He is essentially a ninja meditating master, one of the last living practitioners of the Ionian art of Wuju. Yeah, he's devoted his life to continuing the legacy of people, scrutinizing potential new disciples with the 7 lenses of insight to identify the most worthy among them. And that's what's on his head, this weird, like, those are the 7 lenses of insight. I would have to be extremely drunk. And then probably not. So you know what? D tier. Nothing. Like, and it's not, like, there's not anything wrong with him. There's just, meh. Like, this picture, I'm like, okay, he looks not bad. But, like, I don't know. So now we have Misfortune. Her real name is, Sarah. And, yeah, she witnessed the Gangplank murder her family, mainly her mother, with the guns that, she made for Gangplank. And she was like, okay, cool. Did you know I'm now going to, make my whole personality murdering you? And did end up blowing his flagship while he was still aboard. She is quick-witted, she's smart, she's murdered a lot of people to get where she is, and she intimidates the shit out of me. C tier. There's been a couple cinematics showing her fighting, and they're all so awesome. And yes, Wuju, seriously, like I said, the Ionia is a time. Again, she's one of those ones where it's like, Riot, like, this is like more okay, but also like, why do the boots go up so high? Why is the heel so high? That's so impractical. But it's like I don't know, League. Next is Mordekaiser. MF is so much cooler in every medium outside of League of Legends. She was really cool. Yeah, the Rune King game was so good. And I was thinking, she is super badass. She is super awesome. She intimidates the fuck out of me, especially when you take into consideration, like, the card game and the Rune King game. Like, there's a reason I play her, and when I walk with, and when she's walking to lane, I am zoomed in. Every single skin. So now we have Mordekaiser, who takes you to the Shadow Realm and is a colonizer from Noxus. He uses his necromantic sorcery to bind souls into eternity of servitude for Noxus. He is essentially an undead mage colonizer, and as a result is solidly in D tier. But also it's just like a really cool like concept and a champion. Morgana. Oh, Morgana. Only those you love can break your heart. So, like I said before, Morgana and Kale are sisters. Morgana literally bound her wings to embrace humanity and inflicts her pain and bitterness upon the dishonest and the corrupt. So she bound her wings to show that she is no different from those she walks with, and then became sort of a purveyor of justice. Her sister, who was the literal aspect of justice, thought herself better than humans and fucked off. So Morgana also rejects laws and traditions she believes are unjust and fights for the truth from the shadows of Demacia. And literally is like, I don't care if you think magic is illegal. I'm going to use magic to bring peace and dole out justice. So suck it. She is solidly A tier. Does need a bit of therapy, but is solidly A tier. Nami is Vastaya, which, as we went over, Vastaya are human creature hybrids who have been hybridized long enough to become their own tribes, and there's a bunch of different ones. She's from an underwater one. She's the first of the Mirai tribe to leave the waves and venture onto dry land, because their ancient record with the Turanians was broken. She had no other option, so she took it upon herself to complete the sacred ritual that would ensure the safety of her people. So she has the Tidecaller staff, but she's also, like, young. Oh, Nami, age, League of Legends. Oh. Why does she come across like a 16-year-old? 180 years old. She comes across to me as like a naive, like, 16-year-old. And so is solidly D tier. I mean, she's super cool. And I mean, like, look at this beautiful art. But she comes across to me as like a naive 16-year-old who is just like figuring life out. And so yeah, now we're moving on to Nasus. So Nasus is from Shurima. He is a jackal-headed ascended. So Nasus went into a self-imposed exile and managed to not become corrupt into a Darkin like other ascended did. So now that the sun disk has risen, he's ended his self-imposed exile and is now fighting with Azir, like fighting alongside Azir to ensure that Shurima can be brought back to its former glory and that the sun disk won't fall again, and that Shurima can become the amazing empire it once was. He is a giant humanoid doggo. With pecs and abs and big muscles. And none of you are allowed to judge me. So next is Nautilus, who is from Bilgewater. We've mentioned that a few times. That's the area that like Ilaoi is from. Fizz chales in the water there. The black mist sometimes goes and tries to eat it. Um, and I love that. Look, a lonely legend as old as the first piers sunk in Bilgewater, the armored Goliath, known as Nautilus, roams the dark waters off the coast of the Blue Flame Isles. Driven by a forgotten betrayal, he strikes without warning, swinging his enormous anchor to save the wretched and drag the greedy to their doom. It is said he comes for those who forget to pay the Bilgewater tithe, pulling them down below the waves with him. An ironclad reminder: none can escape the deaths. But like, he's not interested in bedoinking. He just wants to save the innocent and murder the corrupt, which like I can get behind, but it does land him in solid D tier. Next, my baby, my main. Why did you have to make another sexy girl League of Legends? You could have made her look a lot cooler, considering she's a chameleon who, like, she's from a Fastaya tribe that called the Uvi Cat. She's the last one, but part of that tribe with shapeshifting is literally part of their language. They can shapeshift as fluidly as, you know, changing clothes, even easier than that. So Nico is now looking to rebuild her tribe with anyone who sort of shares the same ideals as her. And she has powerful primordial magic. She originally, so after her tribe was destroyed, she fled and was taken in by Nidalee, this chick who we haven't gone over yet. Fell in love with Nidalee, and Nidalee's like, no, denied. Nico's like, oh, my heart, that is fine. I must move on and continue to grow and be a better person. Nico also has a huge crush on Shyvana, who's a sexy dragon lady. So, like, I get it. And like Nico is so cool. C tier. Only because, one, her shapeshifting abilities intimidate me, and I'm too paranoid of a person that I would always be like, what if Nico's pretending to be this person or this person? Like, someone who can shapeshift and their part of their language is just fluidly shapeshifting, that would fuck with my brain too much. But also, she has a lot of experience and has traveled a lot and could shapeshift into whatever she wants. So I would need the drinks for the confidence and to make my brain shut up. You know? So next is Nidalee. Nidalee falls into that problematic Amazonian tribal hunter fetishization trope, unfortunately. She lives in the deepest jungles of Ixtal. She was taken in by a tribe of like wildcats as an infant, and due to the high magic of Ixtal and being raised in the magical forest, gained the ability to shapeshift into a cougar. And so now she is this like wild woman who roams with a pack of cougars in the forest. In more recent art, you can see they've gotten her design a lot better. And unfortunately, even though she is supposed to be brown, she is supposed to be like, she's very much coded Central America indigenous. They constantly whitewash her and make her very, very pale and white in her skins. And it's an issue that's been brought up to Riot multiple times, and they just ignore. So I really hope they do a visual update that is more in line with this picture here, where she is more covered. It's not fetishizing her, it's more realistic, and it keeps that like tan color of her skin, and I hope that carry that for all of her skins, so that they're no longer making her look super freaking white, you know? Like, this isn't far off what her actual design is. It's problematic as shit. Besides that, she is a very powerful warrior woman, who, if I said the wrong thing, would gore me. C tier. There's still a chance, but C tier. Next we have Neela, who gets joy. So, okay, how do I explain Neela? Neela is a monster hunter who is constantly looking to defeat bigger monsters to prove herself, and got her powers through an encounter with a demon of joy. So she now possesses no emotions other than unceasing jubilation. She is constantly happy. She cannot feel anything else. She cannot feel sad, anger, jealousy. She is just constantly, uncontrollably happy. C tier. Next is Nocturne. So Nocturne is a demonic nightmares brought to life sort of thing. Does a lot of stabby, does a lot of murdering from the shadows, and feeds on fear. That's not much. Again, another cool concept that they haven't done much with. He is solidly F tier though. Next is Nunu and Willump. And we're solidly going to put them in F tier because one is a child. One is a monster, or like a creature that cannot consent. So, the boy and his yeti. Willump is the yeti. Nunu is the boy. So Nunu wanted to... Or sorry, Willump... God, which one's the kid? Someone correct me. Which one? Okay. Who is Nunu? Is Nunu the kid? Is Nunu the kid? Nunu learned from his mother. Okay, yeah, so Nunu is the kid. That's what I thought. So Nunu thought he could go defeat a monster. Turned out the monster was a very lonely and magical yeti. And so they became friends, and now they travel together. Looking for Nunu's mother. But yeah, it's a child and a yeti. Solidly F tier. The stories are really cute. I highly recommend like checking out the short stories. Adorable. They're great. Next we have a stinky man from Freljord. He is he wants nothing more, literally says here, Olaf wants nothing but to die in glorious combat. He once received a prophecy foretelling his peaceful passing, a coward's fate, he thinks, and a great insult among his people. So he now essentially goes berserk and murders as much as he can so that he will die in battle. D tier. Oriana. So Oriana actually has a very tragic... So she was once completely human. And now the only human part about her, I believe, is like her brain and her heart, or like just her brain. Essentially, Piltover. Oh, she's currently in Piltover, but she grew up in Zon. Zon has a lot of toxic chemicals and fumes that, as a child, were killing her. Her father owned like a clock making shop and could, like, you know, fiddle with stuff. And oh, they reworked her. Oh, she's now just... Oh, I didn't realize they reworked her story. God damn. So now she's just part of Piltover. Before she was raised in Zon. I guess now a incident happened in Zon and she got sick. But essentially her failing body slowly got replaced with machinery until nothing was left but machines. And yeah, her little orb houses like the hex tech that keeps her basically going. And she just travels. And very much gives off that, like, child learning how to navigate the world plus trauma. So she can go with the other traumatized children in D tier. We get to our second spirit of Freljord, which is Orn. We've already done Anivia. As we know, Anivia is D tier because Icy Burb. That would not go over well. Orn is a blacksmith demigod of foraging and craftsmanship. He works in solitude out of a massive smithy. Like, he's also massive and lives in lava caverns beneath the volcano Hearthhome. He doesn't tend, so the other deities like Volibear and Anivia tend to meddle in mortal affairs. He kind of just prefers to be up in his mountain, doing stuff with his hammer. He also has like all these flames, like the power of the lava almost seems to like be within him, and so you can see, I don't know how well, but like it's like the like lava's like burning in his horns and like behind his eyes and that. And solidly D tier. Next is Pantheon. Pantheon is from Targon. He was once the unwilling host to the aspect of war. His actual name is Atreus. The celestial power, like the aspect of war, was killed within him. He like survived that and embraced the power of his own mortality. He is now like Pantheon reborn, and basically he's able to still fuel the aspect's weapons and abilities through sheer willpower and force, and also rock hard abs. Besides being like I don't want to be the aspect of war, he doesn't really seem to have much of a personality. But those abs though land him in C tier. Next we have Poppy, a Yordle who has a hammer, who has really bad imposter syndrome, even bad, like worse than me. She has the legendary hammer of Orlon, who is a weapon twice her size. She constantly looks for the hero of Demacia, which is said to be the proper wielder. And she charges into battle for Demacia. Like, she is pro Demacia colonization. So, solidly in D tier. Next, we have Pike, who I mained for ages. He is fun to play. He essentially... So he's from Bilgewater. Ooh, sorry. And basically, he got betrayed and was like, I don't want to go down to the equivalent of Davy Jones's locker. Come on, magic Bilgewater mojo. Help me be the revenge. And became the Revenge. Yeah, basically he was betrayed and murdered, and then came back and has a list of everyone who fucked him over. He plans on murking, and is now known as a Slaughter Docks, renowned harpooner from the Slaughter Docks of Bilgewater. Yeah, he basically guts people. That's his whole thing, is he's like, I am a spirit back to gut people. D tier. Now we have the newest champion I actually unlocked because I had a really cool skin for her, Kiana. She is from Ixtal, from the jungle city of... I cannot pronounce that. She's last in line to succeed her parents, and she is still young, so she's still learning how to not to be brash, overconfident, gaining mastery over elemental magic. The land itself obeying her command, Kiana sees herself as the greatest elementalist in the history of, I can't pronounce the name. And so thinks she deserves not only a city, but an empire. So she has an ego, has big desires, she has a lot of plans, but also is still like navigating things and figuring things out. C tier, just because she does or will soon rule an empire, and if I can get into her good graces, even while drunk, if it has to be while drunk, I wouldn't say no to that opportunity. I'm not above taking rich women's money. So now we have Quinn. Again, we have colonizer, anti-magic. Um, she has her cool bird that is like as big as her. She is a ranger knight. She has her legendary eagle Valor. Um, Valor does a lot of the killing, but she can also like go invisible, and Valor can help her fly. She's nimble and acrobatic, and she fights with a crossbow. But because she is anti-magic bullshit, she goes into D tier. Like, she looks real freaking cool. She's a super cool champion. She's also really pretty. Do not get me wrong. But Demacia. Next is Rakan. So Rakan is hopelessly in love with Zaya. He's also very pretty with really nice abs. He is very charming, known as a troublemaker, and so their Vestayan tribe is known for battle dances. So their style of fighting mimics different forms of dance. His name is synonymous with wild festivals, uncontrollable parties, and anarchic music. But now he has dedicated himself to Zaya. And they want to restore the Vestaya's birthright and seek to free Ionia's wild magic. So he's suave, he knows how to dance, but I don't want to come between him and Zaya. Zaya would murk me. But if they asked. God, he's got a lot of stories. The urge to buy a silicone, like, male chest plate so I can cosplay Rakan. I want to make this, like, poncho wing stuff so badly. Do I have the skills? Do I have the time? Probably not. The desire, and also to make, like, the feet thingies, oh, it would be so fun. Well, you know. Next is Ramus, who are Armordillo. God, I don't have much info for him. God damn. From Shurima. He, who knows exactly what he is, where he comes from. He roams Shurima. He also really doesn't speak, because I'm like, okay. Alright. And so he does not have the language, I feel like, to effectively communicate consent. F tier. Next is Rek'Sai, and fun fact, a lot of people know this, Rek'Sai's female. So, this comes up as like a little fact sometimes on the loading screen, that the area around where Rek'Sai is known to hunt and where she drags her prey is sometimes referred to as like the bone lakes or something like that, because it's just littered with the bones and remains of her victims. She goes behind, like, underneath the sands and then pops up and noms everyone. And then also her offspring also hunt and noms. Yeah. Once Rek'Sai is seen on the horizon, death from below is guaranteed. So she would murk me, and I don't know if she has the language to consent with something not from her species, so F tier. Next we have Rel, who I feel like Rel was a really cool concept and is a really cool champion, but she fell flat in game, and as a result does not get as much love as she could. She literally rides a horse made out of metal that she commands because she commands metal. She is from Noxus, which sucks. But she is a defiant living weapon determined to topple Noxus. So even though she's from Noxus, she's like, what if I destroyed the colonizers that made me? And I very much appreciate her for that. Um, oh, how old is she? She feels another one where she feels young. Rel age. League. Oh yeah, okay, so I am right on this one. Yeah, traumatized child. She gets to go with the other traumatized child, except she is a literal child. Well, okay, she's a little child, so I feel like she's F tier. Because illegal. They're not actual children, they only feel like it. Next we have Renata Glask. She is a Chem Baroness. So there are the Chem Barons, and they run Zon through different business ventures and controlling territory, and they're eventually like mob bosses or gang leaders. She is badass, does alchemical research, and is currently Zon's wealthiest Chem Baron. If you need a sugar mommy, Renata Glask is who to go to. Because she is all-powerful, she very much one of those intimidation, she would need to take the lead, and I'd need to be a little drunk. Next we have Renekton, who is another Ascended. He is a rage-fueled Ascended warrior from the scorched deserts of Shurima. He was entombed beneath the sands. Why am I suddenly losing so many frames? Why did I suddenly lose so many frames? Please. Please? Are we good now? Who knows? Yeah, he was actually trapped with Zareth, who we talked about a bit earlier. And so he is now, he succumbed to his insanity, essentially. And because of that, he cannot keep consent. Therefore, illegal. Am I still losing frames out the arse? You know, it wasn't your internet. For some reason, I just suddenly lost, like, almost 2,000 frames. I don't know why. That was really weird. So next we're on Ragnar, who is a Vestayan, one of the more heavily beast Vestayans. Again, I kind of wish they would have gone this way for Nico, but is what it is. He's a trophy hunter who lives for the thrill of tracking down and killing dangerous creatures. He scours the world for the most fearsome beasts he can find, especially Kha'Zix, trying to hunt Kha'Zix down. He doesn't stalk his prey for food nor glory, but the sheer beauty of the pursuit. Which, like, for some, okay, I get, you wanna take down some cool creatures, but if you're never killing for substance, you're only just, like, essentially trophy killing, that's gross. That's a stinky man thing. You go in D tier. Next is Riven. So Riven was originally from Noxus, and was a sword master through Noxus. On the Ionian front, her faith to her nation was tested, and she basically was like, fuck Noxus. She ended up actually losing her memory, and her blade was sort of found broken and shattered with her. She eventually, like, she almost got ousted. She was taken in by some farmers. They confronted her on who she was. They're like, oh, you're a Noxian, you're a colonizer. She took her sword, redemption arc. I think she even met, like, Master Yi at one point. What's her age? Again, she feels young. Traumatized child vibes. Riven, age, league. So she's between, like, 25 to 30. So actually, let's see. And comic panel. But da 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 da. Highly recommend. Like, she has some cool stories. Especially Confessions of a Broken Blade 1 and 2. I cried at certain points. This is a scene where she's being confronted about her broken Noxian blade. God, So good. So good. Here's her. Here's like the past her. Here's the current her. Now we have another stinky yordle. Rumble is an inventor with a temper. He likes using his hands, taking scraps and making them in things. He has this weird robot contraption with a lot of weapons. Again, because he is a yordle, he immediately goes into D tier. Shuriman trash. Next is Rise. Rise is really interesting. So he started out as just a human, adept sorcerer, and then became an archmage. So he basically hunts for the world runes, fragments of raw magic that can be used to shape the world from nothingness. He basically goes and collects them and then brings them back to the sacred place so that they can't be used to damage or destroy Runeterra. As a result of interacting with these very raw, uncontrollable magic stones, that has twisted and transformed him into the purple rune man we see today. He is solidly D tier. Like, technically there's nothing stopping me, but like, The purple man does nothing. Next we have Samira. So Samira is from Noxus. Why does she have to be from Noxus? She was originally from Shurima. Shurima got destroyed when she was her part of Shurima got destroyed when she was a child. And she found her true calling in Noxus, where she gained a reputation as a stylish daredevil for taking on dangerous missions, and basically being a really good colonizer and force for the colonization team. As a result, she is in D tier. Go away, you stinky colonizer. Stinky woman, do not want. Next we have Sejuani. So Sejuani is a war mother, which is what they call like the leaders of the clans in Freljord. Ashe is also a war mother. She is the war mother of the Winterclaw clan, and that's one of the most feared tribes of the Freljord. They are constantly fighting against the elements. They need to raid Noxians, Demacians, and our Avarosians, which is what Ashe is. To survive the harsh winters, she spearheads the most dangerous one on the back of her for Bristle, using her true ice, which is this very powerful, like almost indestructible ice, to flail and freeze and shatter her enemies. Her and Ashe actually used to be like, if you go and read Ashe's comics, you'll see that they actually used to be friends, and at one point the Winterclaws took in Ashe and they were very close. She terrifies me, and I don't agree with Ashe. I agree with Ashe up here. I don't really agree with Sejuani. So like, C. Next is Senna. I love Senna. I would steal her away from Lucian in a heartbeat. Like, I would never want to hurt Senna by taking Lucian. I would absolutely hurt Lucian by taking Senna. Do not care at all. Like, Senna? Where's Senna? And arf. Arf. Bork, bork, bork. 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 Like in case she's in the front. Bork. So she was cursed from a child to be haunted by a supernatural black mist. She joined the Sacred Orders, or the Sentinel of Light, which is how she met Lucian. She got killed, her soul imprisoned in the lantern, the thresholds. And then in the lantern, while her soul was trapped in the lantern, she learned how to use the mist, and when she got like yeeted out, she like resisted being pulled back into the lantern, regained her life, and is now able to use the black mist, and wants to turn the black mist basically against itself. And Bork. Bork, bork. Bork. Next is Seraphine, who had probably one of the most hated, like had one of the most amped up releases that then disappointed everyone. So they marketed Seraphine as like a virtual influencer. So like she had her own Instagram where she was making Instagram posts and vlogs, and she was being marketed as this like cool like AI uh real world but is fake influencer. And then we got this pop star that doesn't really fit within Piltover. Um, so and the thing is, she can hear the souls of others. Um, the world sort of sings to her the sounds that overwhelmed her in her youth, and now she draws on them for inspiration, turning chaos into symphony, and performs for Piltover and the sister cities to remind citizens that they're not alone, that they're stronger together, that in her eyes their potentials are limitless. Like the fact that she can hear the soul of others, I think is such a cool concept, but the way they deployed it is so like they just made her a pop star and was like, oh yeah, by the way, she's also like a super magical princess. Um, not even if I was drunk. Not even if I was drunk would I shebang the airheaded pop princess. Not happening. At all. Next we have Set. Set is a Vestayan hybrid. I think it was Dad was human, Mom was Vestayan, so he is 1/4 Vestayan, which is why he just has the cat ears, and is like a cat boy. He also is the leader of Ionia's growing criminal underworld. He started as a humble challenger in the fighting pits of Navori, quickly gained notoriety, and now he's basically like the head dog of the fighting ring, and can get whatever he wants. It does not include me, unless I have a couple drinks in me. Like, dad bods and abs. Both are very excellent. Next is an evil little shit clown, who I fucking hate. His name is Shaco, or Shaco. I say Shaco. He was like Gwen, used to be just a doll. He was a enchanted marionette, and was just like the plaything for a lonely prince. He got corrupted by dark magic and lost his beloved prince. And now he only finds delight in murder and mayhem. He is a twisted, sick son of a bitch who is solidly, again, doll come to life. I don't know if that can really consent. He can sit with the other doll in F tier. Next we have Shen. Shen is part of the Ionian Warriors, part of the Kinku tribe, clan, whatever you want to call them. Shen serves as the leader at the Eye of Twilight. He longs to remain free from the confusion of emotion, prejudice, and ego, and walks the unseen path of dispassionate judgment between the spirit realm and the physical world. Essentially like spirituality, crystal bitch, pretentious. And as a result, D tier. Next is Shyvana. We mentioned Shyvana back when we were talking about Nico. Nico has a crush on the sexy dragon lady. Do not blame her. So Shyvana is a creature of pure elemental magic blazing in her heart. Though she most often appears humanoid, she can take her true form when necessary, that of a fearsome dragon, incineраting her foes with fiery breath. She saved the life of the Crown Prince Jarvan, and now serves in his royal guard. And of course, because she's magic, and Demacia is really anti-magic, she faces a lot of prejudice and suspicion in Demacia, yet still for some reason fights for Demacia, even though they go around killing magical creatures and magical people like herself. So as a result of her being awful, despite how sexy she is, she's D tier. Go fuck yourself, Shyvana. Stepped on a Lego. Cease. In the chat, Seraphine's voice are hashtag inspiring and hashtag insightful. Get away with that. Go away. Yeet yourself. No. Listen, her marketing was so good. It was so good. They could have done so much more. Like, someone who can imagine, they instead did her powers and her whole thing was like she can hear the Song of Souls and can use that to like sing spells and weave spells using people's soul songs. Like, that would have been so freaking cool. That would have been so cool. But instead, we get Pop Star Princess. So Singed is a stinky old man who does not understand that there are boundaries and that even if something lives, sometimes that is not a good thing. As a result of being a stinky, horrible man, he gets put into D tier. Highly recommend. Again, his short stories are really, really good. And we do see Singed actually a bit in Arcane. If y'all know, the old man and the warlord that revered Inoxus for choking the life out of a Demacian king, who was then denied death. They're like, ah, yes, you are a mighty brave warrior. By the way, you don't get to die. So he was resurrected, and is not allowed to die. His bottom jaw is... Oh, and apparently it fixed itself. Nope. JK, I lied. What is going on with my ping suddenly? Or not my ping, my frames. The internet box. And so hopefully I won't be having these issues as often. Because yeah, I don't know what's going on and this is frustrating. So here we have, so yeah, Scion is a stinky colonizer man who then was not allowed to die. And is forever living. And so we put the stinky colonizer man with the rest. Where's the other stinky colonizer? There we go. Stinky colonizer man. Next is Severe. We mentioned Severe way at the beginning when I was talking about Azir. So again, I think they need to redesign her clothing desperately. She is a renowned mercenary captain who is from Shurima. She's armed with her legendary jeweled crossblade and has fought countless battles. She prides herself on recovering lost treasures from the catacombs of beneath the old empire, and is a direct descendant of Azir, which is why her blood helped resurrect him. She is very pretty. C tier. I would, if we were in like the same Shuriman like dive bar, I would go home with her after a couple drinks. Next we have Skarner, Skarner's from Shurima. An immense crystalline scorpion from a hidden valley in Shurima, known for their great wisdom and deep connection to magic. Their body is infused with powerful crystals, which hold living thoughts and memories of their ancestors. They entered hibernation to avoid destruction, and have now Pimpity Pop backed up. I don't know if they can consent. I don't know if they have language. It feels illegal, regardless, even if they can consent. F tier. Next is Sona. So Sona is mute, but can speak to people with her mind. She is a virtuoso of the stringed etoile, speaking only through her graceful chords and vibrant arias. So she basically, on her little thing here, can pluck, and that is how she speaks to people. She is from Demacia, and she's like a very gentle soul. She's very like motherly, comes off. That's endeared her to the Demacian nobility, which, again, magic, so some are really like wary of her. Some want to arrest her because her melodies are magic. I don't know why she doesn't just rebel against Demacia. That's what I would do. She is solidly in D tier for being a stinky colonizer. Next is Saraka, who I also mained for ages. She's so pretty purple goat person from Targon. She is from the Celestial Realm. She gave up her mortal form to protect the mortal races from their own ignorance and violent instincts. She endeavors to spread the virtues of compassion and mercy to everyone she meets, fighting the lost, healing the wounded, and she believes the people of Ruterra have yet to reach their full potential. She is sweet, sweet mother goat. And, well, I wouldn't die for her if she's like, come be my companion and join with me. Like, if she pulled a doctor, like a Doctor Who, and was just like, come with me, I'd be like, sign me the fuck up, Soraka, I'm with you. I am with you so fast. Welcome back. We have another stinky colonizer from Noxus. He's the one that Cassante says, hey, colonizer, how do you want to die today? His name's Jericho Swain. Is a visionary ruler of Noxus. Basically, he is Captain Colonization, and as a result, he's F tier. Next, we have Silas. So Silas is a mage who got captured. He was essentially used as a mage seeker, and then when he tried to use his powers against the mage seeker, got imprisoned and tortured, manipulated Lux into being able to free him so he could lead a rebellion. He is very much like anti air cross sea, anti monarchy, pro mage, pro equality for all. Doesn't matter who needs to die in order to get that freedom. And he also has this like amazing, very much like a Geralt of Riviera accent with a bit of graveliness to it, and calls Lux his little light, which is so freaking cute. But also this man is kind of a mass murderer, so like C tier. Next we got Syndra. She's from Ionia. She is a fearsome Ionia mage with incredible power at her command and really, really fucking annoying to fight in game. She disturbed the village elders with her reckless and wild magic and was sent away to taught greater control. And then found out that her mentor was restraining her abilities. So she felt betrayal and hurt, and these feelings manifested into dark spheres of energy. And she has sworn to destroy all that would control her. And yeah, it's just like a badass mage. Bonk. Next we got Catfish Man, who's from Bilgewater. We got Stinky Catfish Man, or just Runeterra. He's known through many names, or known by many names throughout history. The demon Tom Kent travels the waterways of Runeterra, feeding his insatiable appetite with the misery of others. Listen, I would find a way to sneak this guy into like eating contests where it's like you have to eat this giant thing in 3 hours and you get it for free and you also like win stuff. I would take him to that. He would be my like eating challenge buddy. But it feels illegal to even think about boinking him. So in F tier he goes. Like, I get he has a long tongue, and that does it for some people. But this feels illegal. Feels highly illegal. Next, we have Talia. So Talia is from Shurima. She is a mage, has the ability to basically, like, control rocks and throw them. Oh god, what is her age? Can I even... The word's right here. I feel like she's 16. Yep. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that right. So you know where she goes? child jail. Basically she is a young mage trying to grow her powers and protect her tribe. She has a couple stories, and she's been in more than a couple cinematics. And I really have been liking where, like, she has, like, that more bronze skin from being in the sun, and her tribe is supposed to be, like, not white. So, again, a literal child. Next we have Talon. Talon is a blade master. He is from Noxus. What else to say? He's another stabby assassin murderer Noxian, like Katarina. Colonizer boy goes here. Next we have Tarek. Tarek is the aspect of the Protector, so he wields incredible power as Runeterra's guardian of life, love, and beauty. He was exiled from his homelands in Demacia. He climbed Mount Targon to find redemption, only to discover a higher calling among the stars, which is where he became the aspect of the Protector and got the Shield of Valoran. And he now is a Protector. He has pretty hair. And is C tier. Next is Teemo. So Teemo's a Yordle, who has poison mushrooms. He follows the Bandle Scouts code and is very serious about that. And likes to poison people. And is a Yordle, so D tier. Wait, how old is... I feel like Teemo's a child, even compared to, like, 41 to 50 years old. Okay, that's like a child for Yordles. He gets into F tier. So next we have Thresh. We spoke about Thresh a couple times. Senna was trapped in his lantern. He goes around. He was one of the beings, just like Hecarim and basically he murders a bunch of people. Also, what the frick is going on with my internet? I cannot wait until the internet box is downstairs. Holy freaking shit. But we're almost done, so it's fine. Alright, go all the way down. Thresh also, like, the Shadow Isles are so cool, and I'm glad there's so much content surrounding them. So next we have Tristana, who is, of course, a stinky Yordle, and goes here. She is a Vandal Gunner, Vandal Gunner, I don't know what it actually is. She has a big gun. She goes pew pew pew. She wants to become a warrior worthy of legends, essentially, with her giant gun. Next we have Trundle, who is an ice troll, and he is the troll king of the ice trolls. He thinks he can just bludgeon everything into submission, and is often fighting with people like the different tribes, such that the different war mothers and that lead. He's a stinky troll man. Next we have Tryndamere, who is the one that is married to Ashe. So this is Ashe's husband, which always throws me off guard. Tryndamere wields a giant sword. He sought revenge for the annihilation of his clan, found Ashe, fell in love with her, and forged an alliance marriage with the Avarosan War Mother. And, you know, his great strength means that often he gets to win battles for Ashe. I would take Ashe away from him in a heartbeat. Next we have Twisted Fate, who we mentioned earlier when talking about Gangplank. Twisted Fate and Gangplank are lovers fun fact, originally in the lore, and the only really hint of this left across anywhere is the Tango skins. At one point, Evelyn and Twisted Fate, like canon in lore, had been together, which is why you have their Tango skin together. That has been completely retconned and basically all but removed from the game, and now Twisted Fate and Graves are lovers. Twisted Fate is an infamous card sharp and swindler who has gambled and charmed his way across much of the known world. Essentially, he has a gambling problem and is a cheeky little son of a bitch about it. D tier. Okay, I'm just, before we even go over, we're going to put the rat in D. I'm going to put the rat man in D. So, he is a Zonite plague rat by birth. Has a chem-powered crossbow. And he is just a stinky rat man who literally sneaks around and goes through garbage and murders people. As a result, the stinky rat man, yeah. Next we have Udyr. So Udyr is a spirit walker, so he communes with all the spirits of Freljord and is able to channel the great spirit's energy. So that is the Iron Boar, Volibear, Anivia, and Ornn, which give him different fighting stances and allow him different abilities as a result. He basically is trying to find balance within the Freljord and make sure that it continues to thrive and grow, and that includes the magical aspects. Next we have Shotgun Knees. Why can't it be both? I think it's because in Evelyn's lore, like Evelyn's whole thing is she is a demon of lust and desire who only lives to essentially like be a Black Widow, right? And because of that, her being with TF really doesn't make much sense. TF and Graves makes a lot more sense. At least to me, you know? So now we have, not Daddy Urgot, please, no. So he was once a powerful Noxian headsman. He got betrayed by the Empire as I fling my stuff everywhere. Hops. And then was forced into a prison mine beneath Azon. There was a disaster that spread chaos throughout the city, and he is now a criminal overlord. He gets hunted down by the likes of Vi and Caitlyn. Has a lot of chemicals going through his system. I feel like just touching him would give me cancer. And yeah, Evelyn is big, like, Black Widow, sexy shadow, cliche. So this is Varus. Varus is 2 gay men and a void kin in one body. So Varus was initially actually 2 different hunters who fell into a well. Like, it was a big temple, big building, fell in deep in the well at the very bottom. It was a weapon that contained Varus, the Darkin. When their bodies, like their dying bodies, hit the weapon, it basically tore them apart and reforged them together with the Darkin Varus. And so now the 2 hunters are constantly fighting Varus to gain control of the body, because they are absolutely mortified by what Varus does. C tier. Next we have Vayne. So Vayne is a monster hunter from Demacia. Her family was killed by a demon, and so typical like a Revenge arc, she now must go and hunt that demon and become ever powerful as a result. C tier. So next we have another Yordle. Yordles, as we know, automatically get yeeted to the lowest tiers. He's a sorcerer. He embraced dark powers. And essentially like a dark little magician. He very much gives me like the big bad in like an 80s video game type of vibes. You know? Very much solid D tier. Next we have Vel'Koz, which is another void monster. He got tentacles, he got a big eye, he can shoot lasers. He's very smart, he's very calculating, and he destroys everything that he can. D tier. Yeah, this giant eye, that's a Vel'Koz. Terrifying tentacle man. So next we have Vex, who is the saddest little depressed Yordle. She hates how happy Bandle City is, and is so sad and so miserable and so lonely. Her shadow came to life, and when she found Viego, almost immediately fell in love with him and was like, yes, Viego, I'll help you bring back your dead wife and help the Black Mist take over everything so that everyone is miserable. F tier. F tier for being also a shit human being. Oh, this does not have Viego? Or did they just put Viego in the wrong... Is Viego next on this? Okay, they just put on the wrong order here. That's fine. So next we have Vi. Vi, as we know from Arcane, Enforcer, becomes an Enforcer. Hit my mic again, sorry. Working with the Enforcers, but very much working with them to make sure, like, the Enforcers don't overstep their boundaries within Zaun, and tracking down truly dangerous people both within Zaun and Piltover. So the likes of Urgot, Warwick, the Stinky Rat Man. But again, still an Enforcer. Where's her girlfriend? I want to put her with a girlfriend. God, where did I put Caitlyn? She's a sea of faces right now. Where's her girlfriend? Oh, there's her girlfriend. I don't think like Vi. I think I placed Caitlyn a little too high. Cause I feel like Vi is a C tier and Caitlyn is a B. I'm gonna have to like go through this before I finalize it, because I'm realizing maybe I placed them a little too high. Next we have Viego, who can't get over the fact that his wife is dead. Triggered the Runation, is responsible for countless deaths. Tried to bring his wife back, even though she's like, I don't want to be brought back. Please don't bring me back. And he's like, I will bring you back because I love you so much. I'm gonna force you to come back to life. F tier, because he's a shit man who doesn't understand boundaries. Next we have Victor. So very different from Arcane Victor. This Victor is head to toe in technology, has a hand laser, and seeks to lift up the people of Zaun. Very much wishes to break down Piltover, and in this one, like, does not. Jace can go fuck himself, you know? D tier. Next we have Vladimir, who is like your blood mage with claws. He's from Noxus. He is very old. He's basically a vampire. He drinks mortal blood, influences the affairs of Noxus, loves blood control, and has a fanatical cult, essentially colonizer cult fanatic. D tier. So we have the last of the Freljordian great spirits. We have Volibear. He is a storm made manifest, destructive, wild, and stubbornly absolute. He existed before mortals walked the Freljord's tundra, and is fiercely protective of the lands that he and his demigod kin created. So again, the demigods are him, Ornn, and Anivia. Don't at me. Next we have Warwick, who is I bet we're going to see Warwick. I know for a fact we're going to see Warwick in Arcane, and I'm pretty sure I know who Warwick originally was. I'm pretty sure Vander becomes Warwick. Pretty sure. But Warwick is a monster who haunts the grave alleys of Zaun. He's transformed by agonizing experiments and the Shimmer. His body is infused with an intricate system of chambers and pumps, filling his veins with alchemical rage. And he's basically just a beast fueled by blood with very little human left into him. Feels illegal. F tier. Yeah, League of Legends really loves tropes, especially with a lot of the older champions. Yeah, so here we have Wukong, who, the Monkey King, right out of Journey to the West, they pulled this character. So in League of Legends, they made him a Saiyan trickster. He uses his strength, agility, and intelligence to confuse his opponents and gain the upper hand. Of course, he's also from Ionia, considering he's based on a Chinese legend. That makes sense. He was a student of Master Yi and the ancient art as Wuju. He's a monkey man. D tier. Now we have Xayah. Xayah is another one that, while I would not steal Rakan from Xayah, and not even think twice about it. Okay, she is Vestayan. She's a rebel. She is waging a personal war to save her people. She does the dance fighting, and, you know, got Rakan to leave his fuckboy lifestyle and dedicate himself to her. So, you know, she has to be something special. I mean, just look at how pretty she is with her pretty ears. Oh, she's so pretty. Xerath, who we've mentioned really early on, we've mentioned him a couple times. He is an ascended magus of the ancient Shurima, a being of arcane energy, writhing in the broken shards of a magical sarcophagus. For millennia, he was trapped beneath the desert sands, but the rise of Shurima freed him from his ancient prison. Driven insane with power, he now seeks to take what he believes is rightfully his and replace the upstart civilization of the world and one fashioned in his image. So as we remember, Xerath actually started as a human who was a slave, and belonged to Azir. Azir kept being like, of course, my buddy, my friend, my pal, I'll free your people and the slaves and end slavery, and then never did. Which caused Xerath to betray Azir, which led to the destruction of the Shuriman Empire. D tier. Next we have Xin Zhao from, you guessed it, Demacia. Surprisingly not Ionia this time. He is loyal to the royal family of Demacia. He was once in the fighting pits of Noxus, freed thanks to King Jarvan. He faced the forces of King Jarvan in battle and decided to relinquish his past life in favor of saving what he saw was a more honorable cause, the Demacians, fighting against Noxus and mages. So he's a stinky colonizer man. He went from one stinky colonizer man to being a different stinky colonizer man. D tier. Next we have Yasuo. Yasuo. He's from, as you guessed it, might have guessed, Ionia. He is an agile swordsman. His brother is Yone, or Yon. He was forced to slay his own brother in self-defense. Um, his master, he thought his brother killed his master, so he killed his brother. It turned out his brother did not kill his master, and his brother mysteriously returned from death. Um, Yasuo wasn't able to forgive himself, and so turned himself into exile. Get therapy. Like, we would both get drunk. He would tell me his life story. We would bang, and then he would cry. Is what would happen. But I mean, like, look how cool that looks. That looks so cool. And I mean, look at that body. So next we have his brother, Yon, who... He was a renowned student of the village sword school. He found himself hunted by a malevolent entity in the spirit realm and was forced to slay it with his own sword. Now he's cursed to wear the demonic mask upon his face, and he tirelessly hunts all creatures in order to understand what he has become, something that's not quite dead or undead. He got a lot of issues. C tier. Next, we have Yorick from the Shadow Isles. He is the last survivor of a long-forgotten religious order. Yorick is both blessed and cursed with power over the dead. Trapped on the Shadow Isles, his only companions are the rotting corpses and shrieking spirits that he gathers to him. His monstrous actions, he feels like they justify what his cause, like he feels his actions are justified. He wants to free his home from the curse of the ruination. D tier. Next we have a literal cat named Yumi. Basically she is a magical cat from Vandal City. She was once a familiar to a Yordle enchantress, Nora. Her master disappeared. Yumi became the keeper of Nora's sentient book. And now she travels through portals and its pages looking for her. And no longer having like a master or someone to like give the kitty affection, she also seeks companionships to like help her on her way, so she is not alone. She loves naps and fish, but of course is an actual literal cat, and that's fucking illegal. Next we have Zack. Zack is the product of a toxic spill that ran through a Chemtech seam and pulled in an isolated cavern deep in Zahn's sump. He has grown from primordial ooze into a thinking being who dwells in the city pipes, occasionally emerging to help those who cannot help themselves or to rebuild the broken infrastructure. So he's not a villain. Like most people would see him and like, oh, he's probably like a villain and a monster. No, he's actually like a really good guy who's like trying to rebuild Zahn and actually make it a better place. But he's also like an ooze creature. D. So next we have Zed. Zed is a shadow assassin from, you guessed it, Ionia. He is leader of the Order of a Shadow. He created it with the intent of militarizing Ionia's magical and martial traditions to drive out Noxian invaders. Desperation led him to unlock this secret shadow form, a malevolent spirit magic as dangerous and corrupting as it is powerful. So he's now mastered the techniques, has become corrupted, and now seeks to destroy anything he deems a threat to his nation. D tier. Next we have Zeri. So Zeri she's very much like Ekko in a lot of ways. Ekko is, a young person who born and raised in Zahn's harsh environment but seeks to make it better. Zeri is from Zahn's working class and has electrical magic. She is deeply compassionate about others, cares for her family and her home, and that's like what she carries with her into every fight, is she is doing this for the people of Zahn, for her family. And she's very big on community. Zeri age. I feel like she's 16. Nope. 22 to 27 years old. Okay, so she is either like slightly too young for me to like around my age. C tier. Get me drunk in a Zon bar, I'd go home with her. Especially if she got talking about how passionate she is about like what community projects she's doing. Oh man. If someone talks about like community and what they're doing to uplift their community and like passion projects, oh man, that gets my little heart a fluttering. So we have Ziggs, Yordle. We saw a brief mention of him in the Jinx, the one story where they go and blow stuff up together. He's unpredictable, dangerous, very smart. He, as I said, is a Yordle. Is originally from Zon, but is an inventor's assistant in Piltover. He was bored and so befriended Jinx. He was an inventor's assistant in Piltover, but then moved to Zon after meeting Jinx. Of course, he's a Yordle. Immediately, he goes into D tier. So next we have Zillion, who is an old clockman. He was once a member of Icathia's governing council. He's a Jesus fucking Christ. Prodigious elemental mage who seeks mastery over time itself. After using his powers in an attempt to save his people from the void, he now drifts through the past, present, and future, bending and warping the flow of time around him. Travels through Runeterra's mysterious creations all the way to its seemingly inevitable ending. So basically he tried to use time powers to save his people, fucked up, and is now flittering across timelines trying to figure out how to stop the world from ending. So Zoe was brought up earlier in chat. For like, just wait till we get to Zoe. So Zoe is the aspect of Twilight. She acts as the cosmic messenger of Targon and is the embodiment of mischief, imagination, and change. She heralds major events that reshape worlds. Her mere presence warps the arcane mathematics governing realities, sometimes causing cataclysms without conscious effort or malice. Zoe very much approaches her duties with breezy nonchalance. And prefers to focus on playing games, tricking mortals, and otherwise amusing herself. When she became the aspect of Twilight, she was still a child, so she's now like one of those immortal children. Just for shits and giggles. Yeah, so literal child who likes to play games and tricks. 5,000 years old. F tier, illegal. So last but not least, we have Zyra. So Zyra is from Ixtal. She is born in an ancient sorceress catastrophe. She is wrath of nature given form. She's a hybrid of plant and human, kindling new life with every step. She views the many mortals as little more than prey for her seeded progeny. So basically, like, are you not plant? You are fertilizer for plant. Very much like poison ivy vibes. D tier. Okay, I want to go through this list again because I feel like a couple were ranked a little high. So let's F tier. F tier looks good. We got the monsters, we got the children, we got the ones that can't consent. The F tier. And I feel like D tier is pretty solid as well. C tier, let me just like double check. Yeah, I want to boop you down here. Yeah, I feel that's good. B tier, F is like it's illegal or feels illegal. D tier is like there's like one thing, so like they're a Yordle, they're undead. they're a stinky colonizer man. C tier is I would need to be drunk for various reasons. Either because I'm intimidated by them, um, because mainly they intimidate me, or I wouldn't want to upset their significant other. A B tier is it would take like 1 or 2 drinks just to give me like a little pep in my step, and then I'd be following them to the bedroom sort of thing. A tier is stone cold sober. Stone cold. I unfortunately I cannot zoom out. It does not allow me to like. Oh wait, let me. How do I do the thing? There we go. Oh wait, I figured it out. I'm not dumb. That might be too small. I hope it's not. Okay, so A tier is like stone cold sober. Stone cold sober. I'm gonna follow them. S tier is woof, 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 woof. Bark, 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 bark. So, I'm pretty happy with this list. So in ruff, bark, bark, bark tier, we have Senna. I'm actually gonna. So we have Senna. Cassante, Void Mommy, and Braum. Those are the champions I would bark for. They might not be everyone's top champions, but they're mine according to the lore. If we weren't going off based off the lore, this list would look very, very different. In A tier, so Stone Cold Sober, we have Ashe, Alawi, Morgana, Soraka, and Zaya. In B tier, so I need like a shot or two just for the confidence boost, we have Ari, Cassiopeia, Akshan. What the fuck is her name? What is her name? I can't remember her name. Moving on, Kaisa, Anubis ripoff, Set, and Caitlyn. C tier, we got a lot. We've got Akali, Aphelios, Azir, Diana, Leona, Fiora, and like a couple of these are only in C tier because like I respect their relationship too much. Like these two, I respect their relationship too much. But if they asked me, I need drinks in me for confidence. But you know, okay, I'm actually think I'm gonna boop Kindred up a bit. Kindred deserves to be B. So then we have Karma, Janna, Graves, Lee Sin, Lilia, Lucian, Misfortune, Nico, Nidalee, Neela, Pantheon, Kiana, Rakan, Renata, Riven, Sejuani, Severe, Silas, Syndra, Tarek, Varus, Vayne, Vi, Volibear, Yasuo, Yone, and Zeri. I'm not gonna go through D tier or F tier because y'all, I might remember all the champion names. It doesn't mean I want to say them all. So this is my final ranking. Feel free to disagree or agree with me. I don't know if any of my choices shocked people or not. But yeah, this is the final ranking. And I hope I was able to teach y'all some cool. I know we only went like a tiny bit for each champion, but I hope I was able to teach y'all more about League of Legends lore. As I said, if this if this is not for like going based off their lore, this list would look very different. It would look very different. But that's today's stream. Thank you for joining me. Feel free to like say if you disagree with me, who I should have had higher, who I should have had lower. Am I a simp for the top 4? Maybe. And you know what? I don't care. Bark. Bark, bark. Alright. I will see y'all in 2 days on Thursday. And yeah, I hope y'all have I hope y'all have a great rest of your week. I will see y'all on Thursday. Goodbye.